So Nio having a bad day today, as well as the entire market, but we are starting to see a potential bullish sign. What's currently on your screen is the 4-hour chart for Nio. The 4-hour and the daily are the bigger levels that institutions like to use, and we're starting to see what's called a descending wedge pattern. And I've had a lot of people ask me if this is something that I would look at, because normally, I've been doing this for 8.5 years full time. I have 12,000 students that I work with over my career, and there's really a couple of major things that I look for in a potential reversal, and Nio is starting to show those. The first thing is a descending wedge pattern. So when it comes to trading, there are a couple of different ways that we can watch trend lines, watch resistances, and a couple of different ways that we can plot potential moves. The first thing is going to be a channel, and a channel would happen where we have this resistance moving down, but we would have an equal support level that's moving its way down just like this, and this would be a channel. Now, where we actually start to see a wedge is where instead of making those equal levels, you can see here, we start to make lower lows, but the lower lows move into a fixed point, kind of like a cone. And what tends to happen is we get these descending movements until they hit a fixed point, in which we call trading an apex. The apex is basically the point where the squeeze and the price action can no longer be contained within the resistance and the support level, that it's going to have to break either to the upside or potentially break to the downside. Now, with a descending wedge, I'm not going to lie, like statistically 75% of the time we end up breaking to the upside. But there's a couple of things that we have to look at alongside of something than just a pattern. The first thing that we want to be watching is any order blocks or institutional levels. So you can see we have a big sell order block sitting right here. We have a big buy order block sitting right here. And we have price action obviously squeezing between those two levels, which is why our TTM has been firing for a very long time. We actually ended up having this big release here where we saw price action drop from $10 all the way down to $8.50, and since then we've been consolidating. And so normally the longer on the bottom of your screen that the TTM is squeezing, the more violent the release of that will end up being. And so our hope here is that we have a violent squeeze, which was going to be a break over $8.50 and a potential release back up to $10. Now, let's talk about some bearish aspects that are happening here. Well, the first thing is that we actually just broke right down into this, block level. So we didn't hold up over this resistance of 850. We rejected to perfection, and we actually made a lower low today. While a lower low is not a good sign, something that you can say objectively is bullish is that we actually made a higher low on our RSI. And when the stock is making a lower low and our relative strength index is making a higher low, it doesn't mean that we have to recover instantly. It just means that this downward movement, the downward pressure that we've been seeing recently, is beginning to weaken. This is even more apparent if we actually zoom out to the weekly chart and we start to see that as we've been making these lower lows over basically the past year since November of 22, the RSI still has been making higher lows for the past year. And once again, it doesn't mean that we need to bounce. It's just showing signs of potential exhaustion even on the daily and the 4-hour chart. So now the real question is, how do we play this, right? So what we should have really been looking for was this break and hold above 850. Normally what I want to see is confirmation before I enter a trade. I think that's something a lot of beginners get lost in, is the idea of high risk versus reward. The fact that one $100 trade could turn into $10,000, or I'm sorry, not 10,000, but could turn into $100, and they could make a 400-500% return. That's very enticing, but something you have to understand is that it's better to not make a bigger return, but to just be more consistent, because you're constantly waiting for confirmation. So what we should have done was waited for a confirmation above 850, which we have not gotten yet, set a stop loss at about 831, and then set a take profit up at $10. And guess what? Even though this didn't happen back here on the 17th, we can still wait for this trade to occur. Because it would be better for us to wait for the confirmation and entry than to go ahead and enter now. Because even though if we set a take profit up at 10, we'd have to set a stop loss down at about 717, this would give us a much better RVR, 4.35. But the problem is there's no confirmation at this moment that we're actually going to bounce. So while, yeah, we have a great RVR, there's nothing telling us that this is going to go in our favor other than an overall, bullish divergence. So for me, I don't think the time to be entering Nio is right now. I think that I will be waiting. I will continue to update you guys over the next couple of days and weeks. And once we start to see a bounce, I'll come back and we'll look at it from there. If you guys want to trade alongside of me every single day, go check out our Discord community. It's completely free. The link is in the description. And the second link in the description is going to get you access to all of my trades. Today, we close out over $10,000, which would be 21 years of our mentorship program. So it's $49 per month. Go check it out. I promise you, it is more than worth your time and your energy. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.